joining. I see we have a quorum, so I'm going to call the meeting to order, and as other people join us, that'll be good. So we are now, I'm just going to make a note until Susan joins us. We're 7:05 called to order. And I'm going to do a roll call. And when I call your name, just please say aye. So Lisa Hewitt.
Aye.
And Martin.
Aye.
Derek Goodwin. Got you with an eye on, is that anything? Thank you.
Yeah, aye.
All right, and Lori Gibbons.
Aye.
Thank you. And Susan Bryant, I see your face. We're starting the meeting. If you can hear us, please say aye.
I can. I have two computers racing each other to initialize Zoom and update itself.
All right.
Sorry.
No worries. As long as you're with us, we're good. We're just getting started on the meeting. So thank you. Let me bring up, I'm just going to share screen and bring up the, oh, Montana, it looks like I'm disabled from screen sharing. Would you be able to
So sorry, yeah.
enable that?
And Tim Davis is raising his hand. I'm gonna allow him to speak.
Oh, yeah. Actually, glad to have Tim in here. Hey, Tim, can you hear us?
I can't.
Your hand is raised, but are you you're joining the meeting, I think. Thank you for being here. I just called roll call, but we'll now have you as part of it. Thank you, Tim. Your hand, your hand isn't raised for anything other than to say hi. Is that correct? I'll take that as a yes. Let me now bring up the agenda. Hold on a moment. Can you see the agenda?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yep.
So today the plan is we're going to review the minutes. Then we go right into Montana, who has a few things to report on progress in terms of the 2024 work and what's coming up in 25. That's followed by the Harbor Master report given by Lori, and we'll let that just be an open discussion. Next point, Nicole Balashi, who is, I guess, the lead for Cohasset Safe Harbor, wanted to get together, and I'll let her present what she's going to present. She's should be joining us a little after 7:30. Then we have the Cohasset Harbor Rec Survey. We'll go through that, and there's a decent amount to digest there. Very pleased with how that's coming along, and then follow the meeting with sort of planning for our next meeting and also the governance process of appointing new members, etc. Having gone through that, is there any items that anyone wants to add to the agenda as you look at it?
I would like to add for the end, some of you are about to be up for your term. So I just want to review, ask the few people who are up for term, if you want to continue and how that would happen.
Great. Then that's exactly sort of where I was going with the 8:15 agenda item, Montana, meeting planning and Harbor Committee member appointments. So that's perfect.
The only other thing I would add is if we have any more information from the selectmen concerning the mooring issue. I don't think we do, but I'm just wondering if Candace.
Actually, that's a great point, Lisa. And I talked to Jack Creighton today, so I can share some of that. And maybe that's simply a discussion we can have around the Harbor Master report, because I think that's could be a good place to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Why don't I, while I've got you, I'm going to bring up the minutes. Okay. Can you see the minutes?
Yes.
Excellent. This is working well. What I would entertain is have a motion to accept the minutes and second it, and then we'll have any discussion. So do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
I move to accept the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I distributed these, I guess yesterday, to those of you who had a chance to look at them. Are there any questions, changes, additions, updates, anything? Just sort of piece through them. They went through the rec survey, which was just sort of starting its execution back in mid-March. We talked a bit about coastal resilience. John Regan joined us around Stockbridge Street flooding, and we talked about the dock extension and some other stuff. Any questions? Then let me call a vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes as they are, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the meeting minutes are accepted. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we jump to you, Montana, with the coastal zone management grants, and I will turn the floor over to you.
Yes, so I finally have an update. I know it's been a long time in the making, so I will start off with the CZM James Brook Watershed flood resiliency designs with Weston and Sampson and Woods Hole Group. We are going to have our second public forum, which will actually be a harbor site walkthrough next Tuesday from 12:30 to 2:30. Obviously, I know, I'm sorry, it's during the day, but we had to do it during daylight, and we wanted to take the opportunity to like show people where the flooding would happen. Thank you, George. A few design cases that they've created for the different levels of flooding with the different years. Again, building off of last year. So you guys live here, but people would park on Elm Street. We would start at Veterans Memorial Park, walk up towards Lawrence Wharf, and then back down towards Summer Street and Backhorse Lane and take a loop. Nasser will be leading and joining us, and then Robin, who's the project manager from Weston and Sampson, will also be joining us. We have a lot of visual tools. We really just want to engage the community instead of us presenting to you. We will do that at the end with our final deliverables, but we wanted to go a little bit outside the box for this public forum opportunity. I'm excited for it. Hopefully it's a nice day. But as of right now, that's the current update with that. And we'll hold 2 more public forums. Still, the date has not been set. We'll do like a official presentation like we did at the beginning sometime in June. And then we're also going to do like a casual coffee conversation for people to go in and out of, hoping that maybe it's a little less intimidating and people can just ask questions rather than like sitting in a crowd, maybe being like overwhelmed. We'll hold that at Walcott Commons at some point, but I'll send email updates once the dates are set for that one. And then the wastewater treatment plant with Woodern and Curran, they are currently acquiring the 2 permits to start the construction in the following grant season to finish out the sewage pipelining. But they are only going to be presenting to the Sewage Commission at some point in June. Woods Hole, Weston and Sampson, Woodern and Curran and I are having a meeting, so we're all on the same page. So when Woods Hole Group and Weston and Sampson presents to you guys, if you have questions regarding the other project, they can be answered, and vice versa. In terms of next grant CZM cycle, we will probably be pairing with Woodern and Curran, Woods Hole Group to completely finish out the sewage pipelining around the wastewater treatment plant. So yeah, that's the update right now in terms of CZM.
So Montana, if you could remind me, the work that's being done for the sewer department is to make the manhole covers and the whole manhole system resilient against flooding. Is that the thought process?
Yeah, that's the goal. One of the main points with the wastewater infrastructure treatment, sorry. The main goal with the wastewater treatment plant one is to also elevate like these pump infrastructures. So if like the flooding happens, it wouldn't produce outflow of sewage. So they're covering manholes and they're elevating like pump stations. And we wanted to originally like do the sewage pipelining, but we couldn't just because of budgeting. So now we're gonna take the next step in the grant cycle and do the lining underneath because there's cracks and the flooding is happening at an increased rate. So that's where those two are gonna build off of each other.
So getting back to it, the sewage thing is still a design. Have they actually done any physical work on the as part of this grant cycle?
Not as of right now.
Okay, so it's the 2025 grant, which we need to win, that will actually fund the work to do the resiliency for the
Yes.
sewage plant, right?
Yes, and we did speak with Jason at CZM and Trisha and their team as well and ran this idea through them and they were very supportive of it and they thought it'd be a great way to like show a like finalization of the project because right now we've all been doing like resiliency studies and like just design, so they were excited about this.
Okay. And is Brian Joyce the lead guy for the town when it comes to actually doing the build out of that?
Sorry, did you say Brian?
Yeah, I said Brian Joyce.
Yes. Yeah, so he'll be project manager because it's all engineering construction. There won't be as much community engagement or like public engagement, unfortunately, but it's just because it is construction and implementation, there's not many opportunities to do so.
Okay. Getting back to this more grand plan that I'm showing on the screen of the flood resilience, is there a plan for a 2025 grant to support taking whatever this is to the next step?
As of right now, we're just gonna focus 2025 on the construction and implementation. In part because I'm leaving, so we don't know the in between and we want to make sure whatever grant cycle whoever is handling is here right now and is like involved in the grant. So that's why we're doing mostly infrastructure. We have been exploring a few other options with Charlotte and Nasser, but they're not as solid. And we talked about doing like Sandy Beach, doing like a restoration project, but it's a little too much for next year and it would be much more community engagement than anyone on town has for the capacity. So that's where we're at right now. Hopefully whoever takes my place next for the next grant cycle will do more community engagement and like build off of the the flood resiliency design plan specifically, but right now we're just going with infrastructure.
Okay.
Wait, Montana, you're leaving?
Yeah. I'll be working remotely for Cohasset until June 30th, but May 23rd will be my last day in person. I'm moving to New York City.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah.
So
But-
we wish you well, Montana.
Thanks,
And
guys.
glad to have you as long as we can have you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Montana, is this walk open to the public or is it just certain committees being invited or is this an open forum?
Yeah, it's open for everyone. The town manager email should include this week. I've been meaning to post on Cohasset 143, but it's on the Cohasset webpage. This is open to anyone and everyone, so
Okay, thank you, because I'd like to share it with some people.
please,
So,
yeah.
Montana, I have a email list for the Harbor Committee, and as part of the survey,
Mhm.
out of the 350 responses we had, 100 people asked to have their name put on an email list to find out about stuff.
Oh, that's
So-
awesome.
Yeah. So I will take advantage of their interest to put this out to our sort of the normal 70 or 80 people that we notify about harbor stuff, plus the 100 people who asked to be notified. And I'll just send out this flyer and reference the town website that I think you've got in the QR code.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
I just shot the QR code and it's all in here, which is great.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Does anyone, any other questions for Montana? So actually, I have one more. Montana, when you leave, and assuming you may not be, your replacement may be coming a little later, is Cassandra the backstop on this stuff?
The hope is by the time June 30th comes around, they're already interviewing people, so
Okay.
there should be a replacement by the time June 30th comes around. Either way, I'm creating like a manual basically of like what your current projects are, what you guys are working towards, all your contact information, and to create a smooth transition. If they have like reassured me that there will be someone by the time I'm done. If anything does change it, like obviously I will let you guys know. They did tell me to, like, if they don't have someone or if the new person's overwhelmed, I will continue running your meetings and doing your stuff until further notice. So no matter who is someone will always be taking care of you
Right.
guys in a sense. So don't worry.
Aw.
We're such a fun group.
Yes.
But we're on Zoom now. This should be like a cocktails event. I hope everybody use your discretion on that. You're welcome to. All right. Well, thank you. I'm going to stop sharing this. Or at least I'm going to try. There we go. And let's see. I'm looking again back at the agenda. We're on the Harbor Master report. And so, Lori, thank you for joining us today. Well, I would love it if whatever you'd like to report, and then we'll open it up to questions. I think Lisa also identified, what was your question I thought was appropriate, what the select board?
Oh, we just thought if there was any update on the controversy on the moorings, if there's any
Yeah.
update, that's all.
Okay. Anyway, Lori, you have the floor. Thank you for joining.
I'm just trying to get the harbor ready for the boating season. All the docks are in, not operational, but 3 of them are operational. The other 2 hopefully will be by the weekend. Memorial Day is just around the corner. Trying to get a lot of that work done now. Other than that, not too much.
Okay. I just have a couple things, Lori, and again, everybody else feel free to jump in. But from earlier discussions this month, Lori, I understand that at the town meeting on the warrant is going to be a administrative item to, I guess, allocate the funding that's going to be needed to enable the conveyor to be installed at Government Wharf. Is that your understanding, and is it still hopefully the plan to get that installed potentially this summer?
That's my understanding, that they'll make the transfer and then we'll get it installed as soon as we can.
Excellent.
Once town meeting approved it.
Yeah, so I mean, and town meeting is really the only thing. Once that's approved, then there's no other administrative actions or votes required, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then I know we left it at the last meeting in March, and I think you got back to me, but I'll just sort of close the loop with folks. We had talked a lot about the Parker Avenue dock extension, and the way that played out is that was not included in the budget. This Lori told me that was not included in the budget that is being put forth in the warrant. So there's and the money which would have been, I don't know, several tens of thousands of dollars, was to do the engineering necessary to prepare for that dock. So right now that is not happening. It's off the table. No work is being done in 2024 on the Parker Avenue dock extension. Do I have that correct, Lori?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Do you have any sense or idea that you might put that up, or that we might move that project forward next year, or even next year?
I don't know. Don't know
Okay.
what's going on next year, for next year.
I know, that's next year is another day.
Yeah. Is this a reflection possibly, Lori, of the Commonwealth's revenues and the municipal taxes going back to the towns? I mean, the state taxes going back to the towns. I know there is quite an upset by many towns that they are not going to get anything equal to the state resources that they have in the past.
No, it's just, with everything that's going on in the harbor right now, don't know what's gonna happen going forward. You know, where the harbor's gonna be, what we're gonna have for a harbor. And where the line is.
I see.
And so, Lori, just looking at the select board statement of May 6th, and I also spoke with Jack Creighton today to ask his perspective on the select board statement. Have people seen that? I'm looking at Martin, Susan. It was in the Cohasset Anchor.
Yeah, I don't know if I started. I was away last week, so.
Well, I'll summarize it. It basically, the select board on May 6th issued a statement. It's in the Cohasset Anchor as well. It's on the select board website, on the town website, and it said that the town has not come to agreement with Situate. In fact, we're at an impasse. Pretty strongly worded statement, and I have it, but let's see. I will share it, but before I share it, because it's all single spaced. So we're at an impasse, and then the statement says that the town is going to join with the Friends of Bassings Beach in the suit to contest the navigation bylaw, or that the Attorney General's office overturned. And it's also going to continue the complaint that the town had issued back in 2023 about the way that the process for the oyster farm was approved through the regulatory process. So basically, we're fighting with Situate, and we're contesting in those lawsuits. And on top of that, it says, and this is, Lori, sort of interested in your perspective, the town is going to continue to operate the harbor the way we have within the breakwater, including the moorings, taking the fees. Doesn't say that Situate's not, just says that we're going to operate the harbor the way we have. And I talked with Jack Creighton, and he confirmed that what the select board statement says is what the select board believes.
Can
And
somebody
Lori-
tell us where the funding is coming for all of this legal activity? That seems like that's pretty expensive to undertake.
I don't know that answer. And the select board manages that stuff.
Will they make that public? Because
I don't
that
know.
seems like something that's a big ticket item that's kind of in the purview of the harbor committee, and
Well,
we weren't.
it's something that's interesting to us, Susan, but it's the select board actually directly manages the
Budget.
legal counsel and the legal funding, and the town council. They directly manage that, and that's their purview.
Yeah, I would imagine at some point, Susan, and I can't swear to this, but I would imagine that it's a line item in the town report every year, at the end of the year. about how much they spent on, legal expenses.
So I am showing the select board statement. Again, don't want to focus the meeting on this because it's something you can read and it's been on
Sure.
Cohasset Anchor for a while. But basically it says they're unable to reach agreement with Situate in the first paragraph. Second paragraph says Cohasset will manage the mooring fields inside the breakwater, provide harbor master services, manage access, keep the harbor open for all. And then there's some editorial stuff, more editorial stuff. And then on the second page of this statement, again, this is right on I just pulled this right off of the Cohasset Select Board page. This Select Board will continue its litigation regarding the unlawful licensing of aquaculture farms and will seek to join the litigation seeking to uphold the Safe Nav bylaw enacted by town meeting in 2022. And this may answer a little bit of your question, Susan. Doesn't necessarily says, while Cohasset has put its money, resources, and time into all this stuff for Cohasset Harbor, it will now also put resources into the legal defense made necessary by Situate's grab. So obviously there's sort of some charged language here. It also closes with all Cohasset mooring holders should remit fees and applications to Cohasset by June 1st. So.
And I would imagine this is the only official statement that's been issued or will be issued until litigations goes forward. I know a lot of people have suggested that, either we or the harbor master or others know more information, but this is in sum total what is out there.
It is. And I think, just in discussion with Jack, I think since we're not involved, he says there's been, a lot of executive sessions to talk about this. And really, the only thing that I think Harbor Committee is in a position to do is speak with one voice for Cohasset and support whatever the select board is trying to do. I wish it were a different outcome, but this is the only statement, Lisa, to your point, that's out there.
I'm sorry, Lisa, did you say that you said something that people have suggested that and I didn't hear whether you said we should make a statement or we
No,
know other things about it. Can you just repeat what you said? I didn't catch it.
What I said is I believe that people think that either the harbor master or members of this committee know more information. And the only information that's available to us is that the official statement that's been issued by the selectmen.
And I would second that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, Tim probably knows a lot about it.
Well, let me just ask, maybe we can ask Tim, but Lori, do you have any comment, and you don't have to, do you have any comment on the operational aspects of the select board statement and how that's affecting you?
No, I have no comment.
Okay. Tim, appreciate you being with us. Do you know if the town has taken any action to connect with Friends of Bassings Beach on the lawsuit regarding the NAV bylaw?
I do. However, knowing that whatever I say here goes directly to Situate, I will choose to remain quiet on these issues. There are many things going on, but I prefer not to transmit what I know to Situate. Thank you.
No, it's totally fair. Actually, not fair. It's totally reasonable, and that's good. So we'll leave the legal discussions to the closed sessions that are happening as appropriate. Let me just ask the rest of the group, Derek, Martin, Lisa, Tim, Susan, anyone, any further questions for Lori?
I have a question for Lori. I know it's the beginning of the year. It's the busy time, and I'm just want to know if there's anything that we can do to make things better for you. I know you do a lot of work, particularly right now. I've seen you out there in the hot sun working on docks. So is there anything that we can do to make the Harbor Master office work well for you?
Thank you, Susan, but no, I'm all set.
Okay, well then accept our appreciate, or at least my appreciation for all that you do.
Thank you, Susan. I think that concludes the Harbor Master Report. Appreciate it. Our next item is to have the Safe Harbor Cohasset Coalition speak. And let me ask Montana, is there anybody in the waiting room? If you can hear us, Montana. Montana?
Well, I think she's running 2 meetings.
No, I know you're managing two
So
meetings.
sorry.
Montana,
Can you-
is Nicole Balashi in the waiting room?
Yes, I apologize.
No worries. If you could just promote her to a panelist, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, she has been promoted.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi, thank you, Montana.
Hi, Nicole. Nice to see you.
Nice
Uh,
to see you.
I don't know how long you've been waiting in our waiting room, but welcome to the Harbor Committee meeting. Just a brief background, and then I'll turn it over to you. So Nicole contacted me a few weeks ago and asked to see if she could talk to the Harbor Committee about an initiative that Cohasset Safe Harbor is doing. And as I presented this or listened to Nicole, the important thing that came to me is Nicole really has a question for the constituents of Harbor Committee as much as she does for us. So for Lisa, she's going to be asking you about CMI, and Susan about CSCR, Martin about the Yacht Club, and Derek, everything you do. Sean Keneally is with the Cohasset Sailing Club, is not joining us today, but we'll fill him in later. So Nicole, I think I've got 15 minutes on the agenda for you. And welcome to our meeting. You have the floor.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me the time in your agenda. I know that you all have a lot to discuss. So as George mentioned, I'm from Safe Harbor Cohasset Coalition, and our mission as a coalition is to essentially foster a strong and inclusive community. We focus on drug prevention, substance use prevention, and mental health awareness. We target youth ages 14 to 17, but we really work with the community at large. So we work with a lot of the sectors. We work with the law enforcement, the schools, the parents, the youth, etc., and really just to provide the knowledge when it comes to substance use and mental health, but also the skill set to have conversations, lay out the expectations, just have transparent communication. And the biggest thing is for those who are of legal age to just be good role models. If you're going out to the restaurant and having a few drinks, you have someone else who's driving home. If you have a stressful day, you're not coming home and going straight for the beer or the wine. Just providing a good setting for those who are watching. We have a lot of watchful eyes. And the misconception is that we are abstinence-based. We are not. It's all about just setting a good example and being good role models. And for those who are underage, delaying as far as they can. So in the past, we've asked community members really where are the hot spots in Cohasset, where are we seeing a lot of underage drinking. And I presented to this committee, I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago now, because a lot of community members brought up it's either in the house parties in the basements or in the harbor, not specifically the harbor, but in boats, going over to Bassings and whatnot. And we've all seen it. It's on Cohasset 143 on Facebook and whatnot. So from suggestions from those community members, they've asked us to continue doing education when it comes to mixing alcohol with boating and swimming. And so we really like to keep it positive. Everyone is responsible for underage drinking, but we understand that we're not the alcohol police. So in 2021, we partnered and did some positive messaging and put signs along the harbor. It was just about, enjoying Cohasset waters responsibly, not mixing boating and swimming with alcohol. And we're looking to do something similar this year, but in a different way than signing. So with floating keychains, the same message, keeping it positive, enjoy Cohasset waters responsibly, but hoping to get in front of the target audience that we kind of miss at other events. So those who are putting in their boats, maybe they're the ones who are providing to miners, or if they're the miners who are going off with their coolers off the bassings, whatever it might be. Just having the opportunity to get in front of them, give them chains to remind them, have a designated driver behind the wheel, and just have the opportunity to get face to face with them. So when I spoke with George, I was hoping we could just essentially, I could pick your brain to see if there is really an opportunity for Safe Harbor to do so, whether it be just like a peak time on a weekend, where we have a table with coffee and donuts and we're handing out keychains and just other resources. Or if there's the opportunity to get messaging and information out through available newsletters. You all have different audiences through CMI and CSCR and the Yacht Club, etc. So I just came to you essentially to brainstorm and see if you think that the opportunity is available, and if so, how we could work together, and if there's a great date, like a particular date that might be the peak time where we'd get in front of a lot of community members for an hour or two. And I do have the keychains. I don't know if you want me to share that picture, but they're not that fancy, but there is just a free swag with the
No, I think
logo
it's a
and all.
great idea, Nicole, and I know you put up the posters in the past, and I really appreciate your positive message rather than a negative message that isn't probably read or received as well. For the sake, I mean, I will bring this back to CMI board, but I would imagine, like anything else, you could set up a table around or pop-up tent around the flagpole or closer to the ramp, and people love swag and they'd probably wander over. I would say being right out the front door of the ramp, now is the time people are launching their boats. Between now and Memorial Day weekend is crazy busy. We used to laugh about we should sell lemonade to the cars up and down the street. I used to send my kids out there. They didn't, but it was a joke. But you'd be surprised about Memorial Day weekend. It's going to be back to back to back to back. But
Okay.
if the weather is nice, and don't
Right.
push yourself if it's not nice, it's pick another day. But definitely Saturday and Sundays. And
But
do it.
Lisa, I was just to follow on that thought. I think, and Nicole, you can tell me what would be helpful is, literally if we could say, Saturday 10 o'clock to 11 is peak time. Or, if Nicole, if your audience is actually to get to 14 and 17-year-olds, well then, for instance, CMI has a youth program and we have a program director who I'm sure would be happy to give you 10 minutes in front of the entire 14 to 17-year-old troop. I mean, so I think getting as targeted as you can. What I wanted to offer was individually. Lisa, you're right on target. What can CMI do from a newsletter, and what would be a recommended time to reach XYZ audience? Martin, I was thinking of something similar, and with Sean Keneally with the Sailing Club, we can follow up with him.
We also have an open house going on this Saturday at CMI. I don't know how many people will be attending, but the people are supposedly going to be launching boats. So even if you wanted to come down and even leave some swag, just to start the momentum, but I don't know how focused you want to have it in one time, one place, one distribution.
No, we're really open to any and all So I would love to leave some swag for this Saturday. And then as George said, we're looking for, really what is that peak time, an hour or two where we can set up, get in front of the adult community members. And then if there are opportunities to get more targeted, we'd love that as well. But we want to be as least inconvenient as possible, but get the message across and get the information out. We tend to have community members who are already interested in what we're talking about. They already know, and we're missing a big chunk of the community, and this is a big chunk of our community that we'd love to get in front of.
Nicole, let me ask, are you, if in an ideal world, are you trying to touch the 14 to 17-year-olds directly, or are you trying to connect to the parents?
We try and do both.
Hmm.
And it's two different messages, obviously. But for this particular initiative, we're really trying to get in front of the parents. Just because they're typically the ones who are providing, or it's their boat. They might be driving, even if they're not the ones who are drinking. But they're the ones that can role model appropriately. So we really want to get in front of the parents. And if we can get in front of the 14 to 17-year-olds, additionally, that would be wonderful.
So Lisa, maybe something coordinated with Frank Townsend on the
I can drop him a message tonight.
for the youth,
Thank you.
to somehow dovetail when the parents are coming to either drop off their
Mhm.
youth or pick up the youth. Could actually talk to both. Martin, any wheels spinning for you on whether there's any critical mass at Yacht Club?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it. Nicole, do you have any language, and maybe it's in an email that George sent out, I don't know, but any language that I could get in an email or something? I'm thinking we have a Yacht Club bulletin board, right? And the Yacht Club being a private club, they get a little shaky when it comes time to, anybody that's coming in, and not soliciting is the wrong word, because you're not soliciting, you're actually delivering a message. But I know how the culture of the place works, and I would just, they're gonna want to know all the dirty details.
Yeah.
But I'd love to, easily post something up at the club, say, this is the date that it's happening at, whether it's CMI or the Sailing Club, or maybe it's, as you said, coffee and donuts at the Lightkeeper's residence in the harbor, or something like that, where you can get everybody. The Yacht Club Memorial Day is exceptionally busy. It's so busy that I don't know if everybody's going to be focused. They're just going to want to get their, it gets to be a zoo over there where nobody's paying any attention to anybody else except their own job. Their own goal is to get their boat in the water. They're not going to probably take time to listen to anything other than that. But if I had some language or something, I could communicate it to the club. I probably might even put it in an email blast out to the club to, alert everybody to this initiative, and then kind of circle back and figure out, I'm the secretary, so I handle all the communications for everything within the place. So I could easily, bring you into the fold. I just need to chat with a few other folks. If it was just me, I'd say, yes, come and, come on down and bring the swag and deliver the message. But I have to just do it. I have to massage it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Understood.
Okay.
Yeah. And so in conversations that I had in the past too with George, it was essentially, we're brainstorming, and Memorial Day is sounding more and more like that hotspot, as long as it's good weather, but otherwise a Saturday or Sunday where it's good weather, determined by the tide, when
Yeah.
people are going to launch their boats.
Yeah.
And designating a spot, maybe like CMI or Parker Avenue, or
Mhm.
just setting it up and having it be inviting where people come over. And we know we're trying to get rid of the misconception that we're saying don't drink.
Yeah. No, I know that.
I
Yeah.
like my wine, but it's all about just the role modeling piece. But that's why we're gonna bring in the coffee and the donuts too, to lure people in, so that then
Yeah.
they're hooked and we can give them the information. So yeah, I can definitely draft up some language and then send it to you if
That would be
works
super.
with you.
Yeah. Send it out to the group. If the whole group's interested, that's fine, but definitely to me. And I can bring it up at the executive meeting.
Hey, Nicole, Sean Keneally represents Sailing Club, is not here. I am a member of Sailing Club. I keep a little motorboat at the Sailing Club. I think the Memorial Day, as popular as it is, a lot of people don't have their boats in the water even by then.
Right.
So you don't have to do everything on Memorial Day. There may be, Sean is the kind of guy who's very open to, I think, this kind of thing. However, I let him speak for himself. I think there may be an opportunity in, maybe early June, again on a Saturday, when people are going to their motorboats, which is where the adults are. Potentially on the tide, the whole Bassings Beach. If you can pick a time when people like to go to Bassings Beach, there may be a lot of folks getting in their boats then. But that would probably be even early to mid-June, when really the Sailing Club is starting to get to critical mass. There's a total of 90 motorboats that are on the dock at the Sailing Club. So it's a lot of people.
Would you suggest I reach out to Sean outside of here?
I would, do you know Sean?
I don't.
Yeah, I think we could, and I'd be happy to share, if you don't already have it, the emails of the Harbor Committee.
Okay, that would be
But
wonderful.
maybe the same kind of information you're sharing with Martin would be appropriate with Sean.
Okay.
He's a very responsive guy. He's just not with us today.
Okay.
Let me ask Susan regarding CSCR. Do you think this message is appropriate for either the adults or the youth that are involved with CSCR?
So we don't really have adults cruising through here. And certainly not coming through here to go drinking. And we also have some of the stars of CSCR are also stars of Safe Harbor. So there's a lot of overlap with Noah McDowell and Max Fernald. Like our best people are all over you guys as well. I'm just gonna send in see if it's I'll see if there's anything else I can do, but we're usually so tapped out trying to get our own stuff together that we can't add too much. But we are in a great location, so let's see what we can do for you.
Nicole, I know in the past you had a graphic, like a small poster. Are you going to be doing that sort of thing this year? Because I think that's sometimes effective, and even posting some of these things, even though I know kids don't really absorb a lot, sometimes early and often.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we have a graphic, like a flyer with the new initiative of the keychains. So I can send that with language for just a specific email blast, and then tailoring it to either it's the yacht club or CMI or the sailing club.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah, because I have a faint memory of posting one at the yacht club a couple of years ago when Mike and I were still there. When your initiative first came up, just getting a permission just to put a little tiny thing on the board.
Right
And
on the bulletin board.
Yeah, and then we put it on the in CMI and CSCR, and I think we even had one near the post near the launch, but that has to obviously go through executive committees, right?
Yes.
So Nicole, why don't I after this meeting tomorrow or so, I'll send you an email and CC the rest of the Harbor Committee.
Okay.
With sort of an update on this. Also, if you go, and we'll probably be showing a little later, but the Harbor Committee website on the Town of Cohasset website does show who all the members are and which organizations they represent.
Perfect.
We represent. Yeah, so Susan, Martin, Lisa, Sean are all in there that's how our organization is constructed. We're officially have members representing those harbor organizations.
Okay. Yeah, and I did take notes for this evening as well.
Okay.
But I appreciate the time, and I'm just being mindful. I know that you have more on the agenda. So I just essentially wanted to make sure that we weren't stepping on any toes if you do see a table. And obviously welcome you to come and get some donut holes and coffee as well. So I appreciate the support, and I'll definitely communicate what we have tomorrow or Friday.
And while we're still on this subject, I know Lori is still on the call. Lori's the harbor master. I don't imagine there's any issues with you setting up a table, giving stuff out over either Mariners Park or elsewhere. But Lori, do you have any concerns about what Safe Harbor is proposing to give away swag at the various harbor places?
Nope, I have no problem.
There you go. Thank you, Lori. Okay, Nicole. Well, thank you for joining us. You're welcome to stay. We're gonna move on to a recreation survey at this point.
And Nicole, I think all the grassy areas of Mariners Park are town owned, so
Beautiful. All right.
I feel ownership toward it, but I don't actually have ownership.
I just like to, spread the word and make sure that everyone is on board so that it's all good. I appreciate the time and good luck with the rest of your meeting.
All right. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
All right. Thanks. So the next topic is the Cohasset Harbor Rec Survey, and I'm going to share screen again. There we go. Did send this, I sent out the survey a little earlier today, but again, there's a lot of material here, and a bit of apologies to Susan and Lisa. I know you're seeing this, is a version of what we've talked about before. I'll say that this is I guess a document I prepared over the past couple days. It's just a similar format to what we shared in earlier meetings, but we'll go from here. Let me just start. The rec survey was sponsored by us. It's run for 10 weeks, started March 1st. I actually did close it on May 8th, or closed it anyway with 350 responses. It still could be opened if we have a reason to, but anyway, this is what we said in our execution plan. The 350 responses, I'm very pleased with that. We'll go through what that looks like. And again, I've sent this out earlier, so you have this in your email, sort of led from the top. There's 350 people responded. They're allowed to choose as many of these as they want. So we have way more responses than 350 because many people chose multiple things that they were interested in that would improve Cohasset Harbor. What I'm going to share a little bit more. Anyway, this is the top line, and sort of sorted in order of what people felt was a priority. And the sort of good news, and I'll get to this in a minute. The next thing I'll do is I want to refresh us on what our priorities have been as a harbor committee. But let's just talk through this. I think that, food and drink establishments is a direct reaction to the fact that we're used to having Atlantica and other stuff around, and they've been closed for 2 years. So people want those back. The green spaces and benches. It's really, I think, we're not responsible for it, but we're set up for success that the condominiums, I think, are going to be a huge addition to this. I think the Cohasset Wharf, again, we're not responsible, but we've seen that's going to be an open public space. I think where we have an opportunity, and based on this, is to do more. So to the degree that we have the ability in our group, as work happens, whether it's climate resilience work around the Cove, I think people like to have green space, or let's say benches. It's something that people want. They want more parking. This is not news. It does sort of remind me that when the select board was going through the discussion for repaving Elm Street, there was a few comments there, and there was an opportunity for more parking. The select board did not vote for more parking. people care about that.
Yeah.
And, you know, while we don't have an answer for it, it's a pretty high priority item across the board.
Yeah, there was a discussion, the zoning bylaw committee was meeting on potential harbor zoning changes. And there was a hearing, was it either last night or the night before? I'm conflating the nights. But Tom Callahan put a presentation on, and parking came up several times. People wondering how all the new residences are going to impact the parking and make it even more difficult for anyone to be utilizing some of the new establishments that are going to be going in there as far as eating and drinking and, you know,
Nice.
so.
And I know, you know, Mike Sardina, again, he can't join us. He's on a plane right now, but he identified some pretty interesting options, even to improve parking along the street on Border Street. Of course, there's some big money involved, but to the degree that we do any climate resilience projects over time and potentially restructure the way Border and Margin Street are, there's possible opportunities. More public amenities such as restrooms and water fountains. Again, not our deal, but we've seen that Cohasset Wharf is going to have a public restroom. That'll be really big, I think. And then the Ted Lubitz identified that potentially some of the retail outlets in the condominium organization and the condominium space may have a restroom if you use those retail space. So that's big. Wider continuous sidewalks, something we've been focused on with Captain's Walk. Again, you know, I think when I look at something like this, is it the top draw? 58% was food and drink, 46%. But a lot of people want, you know, a better, safer sidewalk. Noel Collins is not with us today, but we did have some questions in there that were really going straight to dock space. And I do have something to show in a little bit, but from the 350 people who responded to this still got pretty high billing from my perspective, more public dock space for tie-ups. And you'll notice the more dock space to more boats that are 12 feet or less was below that. Not insignificant, but it's below it. One of the things of the survey, and I'll get to it, was the ability to filter the survey based on demographics. So I did take a look at this same slide for people who are mooring holders or for people who are waiting for mooring to see if there's any material difference, you know, based on demographics. But we have the data to slice and dice this stuff a whole lot of different ways. And so on. So these were the percentages of responses. Here's the total responses. I think this is, I'm interested in your perspective. Again, I was thrilled that we have 350 people responding. That's a lot. As we'll show a little bit later in the demographics, it's mostly, you know, people in the 30 to 80-year-old range, I would say, that are most of the responses, which, you know, reflects most of the people who are engaged in the community with these kind of surveys. Anyway, we'll look at a few others because I don't want to spend the whole day. We did capture things. What are the things that you do at Cohasset Harbor? I suppose it's reassuring. Boating's a big deal. But then for people who don't, walking and running around it, picnicking, you know, there's a lot of action at the harbor. People care about this topic. Going to just keep going. You know, when you're looking at boating, what was really cool to see is that the big organizations, Sailing Club, Maritime, CSCR, they provide a lot of access to the water. You know, and particularly when you look at CSCR and CMI, which aren't, you know, limited to just Cohasset residents, there's a lot of opportunities to get on Cohasset Harbor one way or another, whether or not you're a Cohasset resident. Some things that sort of struck out at me, you know, and we've talked about this, I think it even shows up in you can tell me, Lisa, in the 2020 harbor plan. I would consider renting a paddled boat if boat rental was available in Cohasset Harbor. You know, that gets some traction. In several, we also saw a bit of that in the verbatims. And then we're looking, again, in terms of casting a wide net, we got a lot of responses from people who have moorings or those who are on the waiting list. Again, Martin, whatever you sent out for the yacht club, I think, did you require every single person who got that email to respond to the survey?
I had mentioned it at the exec committee, and I bribed them and said, maybe I could buy them a cocktail at the new bar over there if they so I probably owe about $5,000 in cocktails for people that fill this thing out, but
So yeah, and just sliding to the next slide, and this is actually just, one email and possibly posted on a website. We probably could have boosted response even more if we'd been more active with email, because we saw responses just pour in when emails went out. But the yacht club, yeah, represented a real interest in this, and certainly a ton of mooring holders and a ton of people waiting for moorings. And then the sailing club and maritime, both, and people overlap on this. So there's more than 350 here as well, because people are members of multiple organizations. So that's a good thing. And here's the demographics. Do you have a Cohasset address? I think this is pretty cool, that we had 66 people who don't live in Cohasset who responded to this. I will say we got really good support by Liza Salerno, who helps manage Wilcott Commons and is very active with the seniors and everybody else who enters Wilcott Commons. We ended up putting out paper surveys. She said, people aren't going to fill out your QR code. Can you do paper? So we put out paper. I think we got 22 or 25 surveys that were filled out on paper, and I entered them into the tool. But it was a great way to collect information. So we can see that's the Cohasset address, and then looking at the age group, this is probably the easiest way to see this is exact, so 350. Where do we have the majority of 36 and 22? That's 58. Nearly 80% of the respondents were I think between 45 years and older. 80% of the respondents. The 65-year-olds, very active. Looking at a couple of other things. So I think there's some really great information, and I'll just preface that I think this is information. We probably need a few punchlines, but it's information that we want to share with the select board and put out there. And I would propose that we want to do that once the new select board is formed. This is sort of a lame duck period from what I can tell. So when we have the new select board after elections in June, I would like to get on the agenda for select board and share with them some of these key findings. And just to keep our presence in front of them and so on. I see Derek, nice to see you there.
Hey, I made it home.
What we also got, now these are not as statistically significant, but I think one thing we were really interested, Susan, you put this out there when we were originally constructing the survey, which is we don't know everything, right? We don't know what everybody thinks. So we really tried to word a question to solicit verbatims, and we had 130 people respond out of the 350 with additional comments on what else do you believe would improve recreation at the Cohasset Harbor. And again, it's a lot of material. I sent it out to you. I also, Susan, to sort of save you in the note-taking process, we will post this document on the website as part of our meeting minutes for this meeting, so that it's available as a reference document. Just to let you know.
But should we have a motion to approve that then?
We actually don't. Any materials we reference in a meeting are actually supposed to be posted as part of the open meeting.
Are we considering this a draft document, George, or is this? the final
I
report.
didn't say it's final. I didn't say it's draft. It's a document at a point in time. And I think it probably warrants a summary. I didn't put a summary on it. Because we're discussing this as a group. But I'm open to this. I mean, Susan, you're asking for a vote. Ideally, if we're presenting something in an open meeting, it should be something that's part of the the materials we share as in addition to minutes. Just
So
like all the other stuff that we've reviewed today too.
maybe, maybe we don't add a summary because that is us editorializing. And maybe it's more legit as research if we don't do that, because I feel like you have summarized it. You've summarized it graphically, you've summarized
Yeah.
it in order, it's readable, it's a nice format. So if anybody doesn't have it open, the PDF that George sent out went out at 10:18 a.m. email. So that we got a few emails from George today. So
You can see this on the screen today, right? I'm showing this on the screen.
right. But if you scroll through it, if I,
Oh,
so I
yeah.
have it open as well, and I'm scrolling through it, and I can see that the whole document looks beautiful, and it has
Yeah.
all the content. I wouldn't add anything.
Well, I
Yeah,
just have a
so
point.
I mean, this document is what it is. If we subsequently want to do something, we'll do that at a separate meeting.
Are all
Is
the, are all the verbatim comments included, or, I mean, every one
Yes.
of them, okay, so we didn't edit them at all.
I actually didn't. I organized them. I organized them in order of quantity. So accessibility, we out of the 130 responses, what I either looked for the word access or I made a few that I put into this category, but this was the top area of verbatim. And Excel's a wonderful thing. You can search a cell to say, anytime you see the word access, boom, that's something you include here. So, here's one with access, here's access. So that's how the survey tool, the Excel sheet that I used to analyze this, picked it up. There's
But
a
then
few.
you did
there's a
extra
few-
work because the governance words are not findable that way, but you did a nice job of putting all the governance ones together, it seems like.
Yeah, I was trying to find a way to categorize and capture things, but so thank you. So accessibility had a lot of responses, and I think that's one of the reasons we put the survey out. We wanted to find out, how do people get to the harbor? What are their feelings about it? What can we do to make it easier access? I think Lori's idea of a Parker Avenue dock extension hits a lot. It creates more access, easier access. Certainly the mooring holders, and I'll go to this, put a higher priority on having temporary dock tie-up because there's not a lot of place for them. But anyway, let's just go through a little bit more. I captured stuff, and some of these actually hit more than one category. I'll just make that caveat. If a comment talked about access and boat launching, it shows up in both places. So 15 responses, moorings, not surprisingly, there was a lot of comments about, no oyster farming. So 11 out of the 130 responses had something to do with that. This is one, again, we asked a question, would you rent a boat if there were a livery there? And it's really great to get, in people's own words, what they would do. I don't know if this, if I was a commercial operator, would I want to set up a kayak shop? I don't know. But that being said, there is interest in this type of thing if somebody were creative about commercializing it. I know the Planning and Open Space Committee had told me a few months ago that they wanted to try and put a stand-up paddleboard or kayak availability down at Black Rock Beach. And Derek, I know you're on. I don't know if this has come up with the rec committee. It's something that certainly creates access if there were publicly available kayaks.
Wait,
I'll bring it up to rec. I'll bring
Yeah.
it up to rec. I think this would be a, you know, something worth discussing anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, that'd be great. And feel free, Derek, again, to, represent this survey to the rec commission. They were hugely helpful in getting us into the rec fair and putting it in the catalog. And so, really value the partnership with Ted and your committee.
Well,
Um,
and this is great data to share with them for, again, to help steer that committee as well. Likewise, I see it value in sharing it with roads and sidewalks, because clearly parking and sidewalks are a big concern as well. So they might find this valuable as well.
Mhm. That's
So,
great.
George, did you say people wanted to do it at Black Rock Beach, like Rocky Beach?
Yeah, this had come up in conversation with the open space and planning.
So just
Open space and recreation is what the committee's called. Yes.
and not as a member of the harbor committee, because that's beyond the scope of the harbor, but as a as a Bryant, I can't help myself. And as a
Yeah.
Bryant who has actually lost people off of Rocky Beach, that was our caregivers that got picked up by the Coast Guard way the heck out rough draft. There's, recreationally, I wouldn't want to advocate for that happening unless there were some serious log in, log out safety
Yeah,
considerations, because people go on a paddleboard and they have no safety equipment. They might have an inflatable life
Yeah.
jacket, but they don't take they don't take anything. So if they get blown off course, if it's an offshore breeze and they don't know what they're doing, that's a pretty far away from the Hull Harbor Master, and that's a pretty far away for Lori to find out about it.
I mean, I mostly bring that up anecdotally that they had considered it. I think the reason I share it is open space and recreation is looking for opportunities like this too. So it's not just us, it's not just the rec commission. There's, there's broad interest. Again, doing it at Black Rock Beach, that's may not be the
I
location.
mean,
They didn't
it's
pursue
sweet
it.
and it's fun, but people should be aware that
Yeah,
you can get
there's
blown
no
offshore
safety services there.
if you don't know which way the wind's blowing and what
So
that does.
going just a little bit more, there's some governance stuff, and captain's walk. I sort of categorize things here: walking, running, what have you. Parking, think not just parking for cars. Here's something more: trailer parking. Second one, more trailer parking. And this one was one I was going to filter. I didn't do it yet, but are you an in-town resident or out-of-town resident? Is there any real difference in perspective on parking depending on, whether you have access to a sticker for Government Island or not? There was comments about cleanliness. We didn't ask about that in the survey, but people brought it up. So that's significant. And, given all the boaters, 80% of the people who responded to the survey focused on boating. Either I would say not a lot of comments about a gas or fuel station. 7's interesting, but compared to the total number of boaters that responded to the survey, this was, I guess, just, you can read into the stats as you want, but these were the comments. We didn't ask about it, so people brought this up. Little bit, I thought this was interesting, a children's playground. Wouldn't that be, only one person brought it up, but wouldn't that be interesting? Because there's no such thing, right? This boat tours. So that's the verbatims. Feel free to look at them. I think that Susan, I can't remember if it was your thought only, but it was the kind of open-ended thing we were soliciting. What are the ideas we haven't thought of that you have? And I think we got some really good contributions there. What I did want to share, I said I had this at the end. Which of the following do you believe would improve Cohasset Harbor? So I filtered the same slide that I led with just by the people who were either mooring holders or waiting for moorings. Okay, this was part of this survey was kicked off because we had discussions with Noel Collins about the dock. Okay, what was interesting to me about this is it's very similar to the broad-based responses to the survey. You know, even for mooring holders and those waiting for moorings, food and drinks at the top. The one that really bubbled to the top for them is more public dock space, but more parking, green spaces. All these things are actually very similar to the first slide I showed you. You know, at least in terms of ranking. So it was, when we constructed the survey, it was important to me, and I think the survey lent itself to filtering based on demographics, how old you are, where do you live. But at least what I've seen in ad hoc reviews is the overall responses compared to affinity groups isn't that different. Even this one, which would be one where I would expect differences, with the exception of dock space for temporary tie-up, which does logically make sense. Most of these others are in the same order as the general. And actually, here is this, I'll just give you a visual. And then here was here was the broad response. One thing I'm going to just jump out to something we said earlier. How does this relate to things? So at the update to the select board in November, we shared what our priorities were that we reviewed in November, that we agreed on in our November meeting. And the rec survey, the majority of the stuff is really informing the project that we've termed Captain's Walk. You know, design thinking about sidewalks, roadways, parking, signage, access, dinghy docks. Most of the stuff that we're getting informed on falls into this area. You know, and then there's all the other stuff we're doing, the climate resilience projects that we're monitoring. I'm part of MVP 2.0. You know, so these are other initiatives we have. The rec survey was really informing the work that we would like to do in collaboration with Jackie Dormitzer and others. The other thing we presented to the select board in November was that we were going to do a rec survey. If you look on here, and I'd say by and large, we, you know, had a very successful execution compared to what we said we were going to do in November. Generate awareness of who we are, demonstrate that we're listening, generate actionable data, collect ideas around access, walking, boat ramp, captain's walk, safety, those without access. You know, interestingly, Susan, you had brought up swimming. I don't think the word swimming ever came up in a comment. We didn't ask the specific question, just wasn't raised, but that might speak to the demographic that none of the 45-year-olds to 90-year-olds answering the survey thought about swimming at the harbor. So go figure. Anyway, that's the upshot on the survey. I think, you know, what I want to look at it's not a once and done, it's a resource. We have the data. And I think using it, as we said, to help guide our priorities and inform things we should think about, like more green space and benches. I think we got some good value out of this.
So the tricky part is that the number one priority is the food and drink establishments. You know, reading from the data, I don't know. Is there anything we can do about that?
I mean,
not my area of expertise for sure, other than going to them.
A lot of this stuff we're not doing, but we know it's coming. I mean, I'd love that Harbor Committee can take credit for the reopening of Cohasset Wharf, and you know, and Old Salt House getting its own kitchen, and whatever happens down at the condo. We're not in charge of that, but this kind of thing will be asked and answered within the next 12 to 24 months, and through no effort of ours. But happy to. I think this will be interesting to Susan Hoadley and to Ted Lubitz to say people are hungry for this stuff. And,
right,
you know,
but I guess what we do know is that it's Cohasset residents 202 of them, which might not be enough to float their business. That's actually helpful, probably.
I mean, it's a survey, so, but you know, it shows
Yeah.
a general inclination, people. So, yeah, I think that the number 202 is simply, it's an amazing number of people who are actually interested enough to put this at the top.
Right, but they're not gonna necessarily go out to dinner every single night at Cohasset.
No, I mean, this is a survey. And they're also not all from Cohasset.
Right,
This is everybody.
66, was it 66%? No, 66
Eight-
total, we're not.
80% of respondents were from Cohasset.
Okay,
So no, I mean, there's things that let's just say we asked about. This is going to get dealt with. Green space is going to be huge when the condo opens that up this summer. The more public amenities is going to be huge when Cohasset Wharf opens that up. I think the things that we can influence, along with the sidewalk committee and Captain's Walk, is, you know, better sidewalks. I think we can influence more public docks. What's an interesting opportunity is kayaks. You know, stand-up paddleboards. That's an interesting thing. It's not necessarily us to commercialize, but love to share that with select board, and we're already talking with rec. So I think there's some really interesting findings here.
Martin has his hand up.
Well, now, just because I have to drop, I
Yeah.
have a call right now with the Bank of Guam, believe it or not. So I have to take this call. And that requires me going upstairs to an office. And I just want to let you guys know I have a couple minutes, but then I got to bounce.
Thank you. And actually, sort of thinking ahead to the next topic, Martin, your term with our committee is still in force through 2025. So you're stuck on Harbor Committee.
Well, I will see you in 2025 then.
Just
I'll
say
Let us know. Let us
Yeah.
know if the Bank of Guam can fund a new dock.
yes,
I'm gonna ask what they're doing in their harbor.
a couple of
Thank
benches.
you.
All right, I'll see you guys.
All right, thanks, Martin.
Yeah, have a good night. See ya.
So I will, we're a little over time. I spent too long on this, but again, it's not, to me, let's consider the survey a living document, and there's more answers that can be found, particularly if we want to filter the data. But as a report right now, are there any comments or questions or opportunities that anybody sees that you would like to share?
I think it's awesome. You did a ton of work on it. I don't know whether you did or not, because I'm not looking at all at once in order, but does it actually say in there that that this is a living document and there's opportunities to filter this data based on any number of the questions? Because maybe that's a sentence that you might add at the end, and then I say it's a, you know, lovely piece of work. Congratulations.
Well, let's capture that in the minutes. I mean, this document, I'm going to say is a what do you call it, an artifact at this point. But I'm just looking at the next meeting. If we have questions and we want to interrogate the survey data, we should know that we can do that.
Yeah, I think now that it's done, and I think this was a worthwhile effort, you know, we can reflect on it, and then in the next meeting, see if we want to amend it in any way. But I do think there's some valuable data points that we can use when we're supporting different initiatives, like additional benches, like an extension of the dock, et cetera.
Well, and I think that was a real thing. And I know Lori's on the call, but this data is potentially quite valuable in saying, here's something we can do. Lori's proposed it, very cost efficient, and addresses an accessibility point across mooring holders as well as people who don't have access to harbor generally. So I think it's pretty, it's valuable for that, even that alone. We can use it to work with the capital committee and the select board to potentially bubble this a little bit higher in priority for 2025.
And I think out of this comes the realization that parking is a major interest and it's a major problem. to how to meet, to address that interest. So that may have to be a focus of this committee, to at least amass information. We can't, we can't make anything happen. We can just be, as we've said a million times, we're just advisory, but, perhaps that would be something that we can spend some time on.
Well, to me, this also, it's data that informs that when you have opportunities for new parking, you need to really advocate for it and not, let it be like, we don't need it that much. Let's prioritize something else. Every additional parking space is going to be valued, and particularly in certain locations. Let's switch to our next final topic, which is Montana, you wanted to raise. So Montana, if I can have you back. I'm gonna just hold on. The agenda was, our next meeting is currently scheduled for July 17th. Between now and then, we have some member terms that we need to basically re-up our membership. And it would be my expectation is to hold elections for the chair, for the vice chair, for the secretary, because that's what we like to do on an annual basis. And that would be what happened. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to unshare that, and I'm just going to share the Harbor Committee page, because I think this goes to your question, Montana. Can we see this? So looking at who's there, we have 5 people, I think, whose terms are up. Mine, Susan's, Tim's, Lisa, and Mike Sardina. Montana, you wanted to ask a question about that.
I just wanted to let you guys know, if you want to renew your term, you fill out the form on the Cohasset webpage. I have to ask Tracy exactly where it is. I'm sure some of you know already, but she prefers the form and to do that sooner rather than later.
Okay. And that's a specifically a renewal form, or is it just where you fill out, I want to be on a committee?
I believe they go hand in hand.
Okay.
Yeah, my memory, the last time that I was appointed by, it was that it was accompanied by a letter from the organization, because many of us are designees by the organization. So we may need, at that point, George, I believe you were the president of CMI. I think we accompanied it with just an email or a letter saying that, we hereby designate blah, 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 blah.
Okay. So Montana, that's the message, and I want to get that message out pronto, before the minutes to this meeting. I can put that out to everybody. And if you have, I probably know it and I could find it, but if you have the link to that form and you want to email it to me, that would be probably the most expedient way to do that.
And we should probably also try to, if there's any way of recruiting some of those, for those vacancies in the commercial fishermen representatives.
A great point. So Lori, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Lori, as we consider the membership of Harbor Committee for 24-25, you had indicated a few months ago that you may know somebody who you think would be good on the committee.
Yeah, but it's not a commercial fish.
No, it's just somebody who's, I hear you. So somebody who would be good on the committee, but they're not necessarily going to fill the commercial fisherman position.
Correct.
I mean, we had, so to get to that person, are you in a position to, I'll forward you the form, but we need that person to fill out the form, or you to fill out the form on their behalf, one way or another.
I
Yeah,
think
I can talk to him.
Okay.
I'll
I know-
talk to him again. I'll see him in the next couple of nights.
Okay. And I know Jeff Donzi had contacted me with interest at being on the committee. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but yes, he had. Susan, concerning the fishermen, I mean, it's been an ongoing issue about having official representation of the fishermen. My answer for it this year was to, put Adam Donovan and Mike Lane on the agenda, listen to them, capture their thoughts, and again, most of what we do on this committee is not by vote. We're an advisory committee. We're listening. We're informing our opinions. We're determining priorities based on what we absorb. So I feel like we are getting the voice of the fishermen. If we could get a Cohasset-based fisherman who's appropriate, who likes sitting on committees to participate, that'd be awesome. But as I understand it, that's a challenge. And I've somewhat been deferring to you, Lori, for any information on whether or not you know somebody who lives in Cohasset who's a fisherman who might be willing to serve.
None of them have any interest that I know of.
Lori, is there a list of people that, maybe if that are they're technically considered commercial fishermen representatives?
Well, I have a list of those that have the commercial moorings.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if,
It's about half of them don't live in town.
right, but I'm saying is, do you have a list of perhaps those who do live in town that we could maybe approach?
Yeah, I can give it to you.
Yeah,
I like, George, I really like that you've done. Seems like a great solution. And I think that maybe we could make that a policy that we make sure we do that at least every year.
Yeah, I mean, as issues come up, I think, we just float we got some great notes out of that. And in fact, I ran into when I was on Cohasset Anchor the other day, and they had these spotlight series. Adam Donovan had a spotlight done on him like 2 years ago.
yep,
And so there's really good information. And, one of a charge of the Harbor Committee is to do our best to advise the town on how to keep and support commercial fishing. So I think, everything we can do to do it, we can. But Susan, to your point, I felt, really energized by Mike's and Adam's presentation and discussion earlier this year, and would offer, I think it's really up to us on the committee, and ideally, if we had a fisherman, up to them to come up with the ideas. But I certainly believe we can use Mike Lane and Adam Donovan as a resource practically anytime we want to get better information and potentially, guidance if we're going down an issue that relates to them. Because the question that had come up, and one reason we had them, whether it's real or not, but it came out of a meeting we had with Chris Senior and with Michelle Leary. If we build it, will they come? This is if we build and enhance the Government Island Wharf, will the commercial fishermen actually benefit from it and use it? And, will we continue to retain and potentially at least maintain the commercial fleet that we have? And I think what we heard from them was, yes, we'll probably need to have that discussion some more, particularly if and when the next funding request comes up for doing something with Government Island Wharf. We'll need their support, and we may need more than just them.
And I think they're pretty good at getting word out to others.
As is Lori. I think Lori combined with them is really a great resource. Good. Is there any further business to bring before tonight's meeting?
We still have a shellfish constable for Cohasset,
yes,
and it's still the guy that's also animal control. Is that right?
Josh?
yep.
Well, our next meeting is scheduled for July 17th. And because we're still just trying to maintain that schedule, it's the right timing. hopefully that'll work. And Montana, best of luck with your endeavors. We've very much enjoyed having you here, and we'll actually look forward to walking around the harbor with you next week.
Yes, I'm excited and thank you guys. It's been a pleasure working with you guys. And like I said, like I'll keep you up to date with transitioning and I want to, and maybe me in July running the meeting again. So I'll let you know.
Well, I hope the town pays you well for your efforts then.
Yes.
Yes, they do.
But you've been very, very helpful keeping this group together and moving us along and giving us access. So we hugely appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, the goal is to make sure everyone knows. Sorry, my cat is like he's really large and his fur keeps hanging over the camera behind. No, the goal is to make sure everyone knows what's going on so we can move together and get ready for climate change, right? So
And in Montana, it wouldn't be a Zoom meeting without a cat walking in front of the camera. So thank you.
I'm glad you feel that way.
I think, can I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Meeting
Aye.
adjourned. Thank you very much for attending. And we will talk again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
guys.
Have a good night.
one.